I'm Dinah, 34 years old, single mother from Boston. My journey has been a challenging one, especially raising my sweet 7-year-old daughter Lily on my own. Family should be a source of support, but sometimes they can inflict the deepest wounds. What my mother said at our last family gathering changed everything. After years of trying to maintain a relationship with my judgmental mother, she crossed a line I couldn't forgive. Before I share how my mother's words shattered my daughter's heart, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. If you've ever had to protect your child from your own family's judgment. Growing up with my mother, Eleanor was never easy. She was the definition of a perfectionist demanding excellence in everything from academics to how I dressed and spoke. Nothing I did was ever quite good enough. My father was the buffer between us, the gentle soul who would quietly whisper encouragement when my mother's criticism became too harsh. He was my safe harbor in the storm of her expectations. When I was 16, my whole world collapsed. My father died in a car accident on his way home from work. A drunk driver crossed the median, and just like that, I lost my protector, my champion. The grief was overwhelming, but even more devastating was how my mother changed after his death. Instead of drawing closer to me in our shared loss, she became more distant, more critical, as if blaming me for reminding her of him. I threw myself into my studies, desperate for my mother's approval and trying to numb the pain of losing Dad. That determination got me into a good college where I met Marcus during my sophomore year. He was charming, ambitious, and for once I felt seen for who I was, not measured against impossible standards. Marcus and I dated for 2 years before I got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but after the initial shock, I was cautiously excited. Marcus seemed happy too, making plans for our future together. We weren't married, which I knew would disappoint my mother, but I thought she might soften when she saw her grandchild. I was wrong on both counts. When I was 5 months pregnant, Marcus left. No warning, just a note saying he wasn't ready to be a father and thought it best to make a clean break. My call to his phone went straight to voicemail, and his friends claimed they didn't know where he'd gone. Just like that, I was alone again. When I told my mother about the pregnancy and Marcus's departure, her response was coldly predictable. "What did you expect, Dinah? Men don't buy the cow when the milk is free," she said, sipping her tea, as if we were discussing the weather rather than the implosion of my life. "Mom, I need support right now, not judgment," I said, fighting back tears. "Support. You made your choices. Now you have to live with them," she replied. "Don't expect me to clean up your messes anymore." Despite her reaction, I pushed forward. I finished my degree while working part-time and preparing for my baby. When Lily was born, she was perfect in every way. Holding her in my arms, I promised her I would break the cycle of criticism and judgment. I would create a world of love and acceptance for her, even if I had to do it alone. The struggles of single motherhood were real and relentless. Balancing work, childcare, and trying to maintain some semblance of a personal life was exhausting. But Lily made it all worthwhile. Her smile, her curiosity, her boundless love filled spaces in my heart I didn't know existed. As Lily grew, I tried to maintain a relationship with my mother, hoping she would bond with her granddaughter. Eleanor was civil but distant, always finding subtle ways to criticize my parenting or compare Lily unfavorably to my brother Michael's children. Sophia was reading by age 4. She would say, eyeing Lily, who was happily coloring at age 5. Or, James never had tantrums in public, when Lily had a perfectly normal moment of overtiredness at a family dinner. My friend Jasmine saw the toll these interactions took on me. We met in a single-parent support group when our kids were toddlers, and she quickly became my closest confidant. "You know you don't have to subject yourself or Lily to that, right?" Jasmine said one evening after I vented about another uncomfortable visit with my mother. "Family isn't supposed to make you feel smaller." "She's Lily's only grandmother," I would reply weakly. "I want her to have family connections." "Family is about who loves you, not just who's related to you," Jasmine would remind me. "You need to set some boundaries, Dinah, or she'll never stop." Deep down, I knew Jasmine was right, but something in me still craved my mother's approval. Still hoped that someday she would look at me with the pride and love I'd seen in my father's eyes. Lily was such a sweet, sensitive child. She loved drawing, creating elaborate stories about her artwork, and had such a tender heart for others. When a classmate was sad, Lily was the first to offer comfort. When she saw homeless people on our walks through Boston, she always asked if we could help them. Despite my mother's coolness, Lily adored her grandmother and yearned for her approval. She would spend hours making cards and drawings for Eleanor, most of which were acknowledged with a cursory, "That's nice," before being set aside. Our visits to my mother's house were always tense. The pristine surfaces and formal furniture weren't welcoming to a young child, and I could see Lily trying so hard to be perfect, to not touch anything, to speak only when spoken to. It broke my heart to see her shrink herself trying to meet standards no child should have to worry about. Previous family gatherings had been exercises in endurance. The subtle put-downs, the comparisons to my brother's traditional family. The questions about whether I was dating anyone yet, all designed to remind me that in my mother's eyes I had failed at life's most important test, creating a proper family. But for Lily's sake, I kept trying. I wanted her to have what I had lost when my father died, a sense of extended family, of belonging to something larger than just our little household of two. Little did I know that my efforts to give Lily family connections would lead to the most painful moment of her young life. The call from my mother came on a Tuesday evening in late April. Lily was finishing her homework at the kitchen table while I prepared dinner, trying to decompress from a demanding day at work. "I'm hosting the family reunion at my house on Saturday," Eleanor announced without preamble when I answered. "Michael and Stephanie will be bringing the children. I expect you and Lily to be here by noon. We'll eat at 1. Not an invitation, but a summons. No, how are you, or would you like to come? Just the expectation of compliance that had characterized our relationship for as long as I could remember. "Mom, I don't know if that's a good idea," I said, lowering my voice and turning away from Lily. "The last time we were there, you made several comments about my parenting that were hurtful." "Don't be so sensitive, Dinah. If you can't take constructive criticism, how will you ever improve? Besides, the family wants to see Lily. Your Uncle Robert is coming in from Chicago." I hesitated, torn between protecting my daughter and denying her the chance to know her extended family. Before I could respond, Lily looked up from her homework. "Is that Grandma? Are we going to see Grandma?" Despite everything, her eyes lit up at the prospect. That decided it for me. "Fine, Mom. We'll be there. Can we bring anything?" "Just yourselves. And Dinah. Make sure Lily wears something appropriate. Not those cartoon t-shirts she always has on." After hanging up, I sat down next to Lily. "Yes, that was Grandma. She's having a family get-together this weekend. Would you like to go?" "Yes." Lily bounced in her chair. "Will Cousin Sophia and James be there? And Uncle Michael?" "They will?" I said, trying to match her enthusiasm. "Can I make Grandma a special drawing? Maybe she'll put it on her refrigerator this time." The hopeful optimism in her voice squeezed my heart. "That's a wonderful idea, sweetheart." The next day, I took Lily shopping for new outfits for the reunion. She was growing so fast, and most of her spring clothes from last year no longer fit. As we browsed through the children's department, Lily's excitement about the family gathering was palpable. "Do you think Grandma will like this dress?" she asked, holding up a pretty blue sundress with white flowers. "It's beautiful, and it matches your eyes," I told her. "I think it's perfect." We also found a nice blouse and skirt for me, something that I hoped would meet my mother's exacting standards. The cost strained my budget, but seeing Lily's joy made it worthwhile. That evening, after Lily went to bed, I called Jasmine to vent my anxiety about the upcoming reunion. "I just know she's going to find something to criticize," I said. "She always does. And I hate seeing how Lily tries so hard to please her." "Then why go?" Jasmine asked simply. "Because Lily wants to. She gets so excited about seeing her cousins and being part of a big family gathering. How can I take that away from her?" "Just promise me you'll set some boundaries this time," Jasmine urged. "If Eleanor starts with her usual comments, be ready to shut it down or leave. You don't have to sit there and take it, and neither does Lily. I know. I sighed. I'm working on it. The night before the reunion, I had trouble sleeping. Old nightmares resurfaced, ones where I was a child again standing before my mother as she listed all my failings. Only now in the dream, she was doing the same to Lily. I woke up at 3 a.m., my heart racing, and checked on Lily. She was sleeping peacefully, clutching the stuffed otter she'd had since she was a baby. I'll protect you, I whispered gently, brushing her hair back from her forehead. I won't let her hurt you. Saturday morning arrived with perfect spring weather. Lily was up early, too excited to sleep late. She carefully put her drawing for Eleanor in a folder to keep it safe and changed into her new dress without being asked. You look beautiful, I told her as she twirled to show off the dress. Do you think Grandma will think so? She asked, suddenly serious. She should, I said, careful not to promise anything I couldn't deliver. And more importantly, do you like how you look? Lily nodded enthusiastically. I feel like a princess. Then that's what matters most, I said, hugging her close. The drive to Eleanor's house in the suburbs took about 40 minutes. As we left the familiar streets of our neighborhood, Lily gazed out the window, taking in the changing scenery. Mom, she said after a while, why don't I have a daddy like James and Sophia do? My hands tightened on the steering wheel. We'd had versions of this conversation before, but it never got easier. Well, honey, every family is different. Some kids have a mom and a dad. Some have two moms or two dads. Some have just a mom like you or just a dad. What matters is that they have people who love them very much. And I love you more than anything in the world. Kipan. Did my daddy love me? The question caught in my chest. I'd always tried to be honest with Lily about Marcus without burdening her with adult complexities. Your daddy wasn't ready to be a father, I said carefully. That was about him, not about you. You were a perfect, wonderful baby. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt other people even when they don't mean to. Do you think he ever thinks about me? I don't know, sweetheart. I hope he does. He'd be so proud of the amazing girl you've become. As we turned onto my mother's street, my stomach knotted with tension. Part of me wanted to turn around and drive home to protect Lily and myself from whatever judgment awaited us. But another part still hoped, foolishly perhaps, that this time would be different, that my mother would finally see what a wonderful child I was raising and be proud of us both. We're here, I announced, pulling into the driveway of the colonial-style house where I'd grown up. Remember what we talked about, best behavior. But if anyone says something that makes you uncomfortable, you come tell me right away, okay? Okay, Mommy, Lily said solemnly. I'll be good, I promise. As we walked up the pristine brick pathway to the front door, I felt the weight of my childhood pressing down on me. This house had never truly been a home to me after my father died. I hoped Lily wouldn't sense the ghosts that still haunted these rooms for me. Taking a deep breath, I rang the doorbell, mentally preparing myself for whatever lay ahead. The conflict within me was palpable, wanting to protect my daughter while desperately hoping my mother could be the grandmother Lily deserved. Eleanor opened the door with the same rigid posture I remembered from childhood, her silver hair perfectly styled, not a strand out of place. She wore a navy blue dress with pearls, her standard attire for family functions. You're 3 minutes late, she said by way of greeting, checking her watch. Hello to you too, Mom, I replied, forcing a smile. Traffic was heavier than expected. Lily stepped forward, clutching her folder. Hello, Grandma. I made something for you. Eleanor's gaze shifted to Lily, giving her a quick once-over. At least you're dressed properly. Come in. Everyone else is already here. No hug, no warm welcome. Just a grudging acknowledgement that we had met the minimum standard for appearance. I exchanged a glance with Lily, whose smile had faltered slightly, and gave her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. We followed Eleanor into the living room, where the rest of the family had gathered. My brother Michael sat on the couch with his wife, Stephanie, both impeccably dressed as always. Michael worked as an investment banker, and Stephanie was a pediatrician, the perfect power couple in my mother's eyes. Their children, 10-year-old Sophia and 8-year-old James, were playing some kind of card game on the coffee table. "Look who finally made it," Eleanor announced to the room. Uncle Robert rose from his armchair to greet us. "Dinah, and this must be little Lily. My, how you've grown since I last saw you." Uncle Robert had always been kind, reminding me a bit of my father. He gave me a warm hug and bent down to Lily's level to shake her hand. "I'm not so little anymore," Lily informed him seriously. "I'm 7.5. This earned a genuine laugh from Uncle Robert. "Indeed you're not. 7.5 is very grown up." Aunt Patricia, my mother's sister, gave us a polite nod from her seat by the window, but didn't get up. She and my mother shared the same critical nature, though Patricia tended to express her disapproval through silence rather than direct comments. "Hello, Dinah," Michael called from the couch, raising his hand in a lazy wave. "How's the nonprofit sector treating you?" The slight emphasis on nonprofit didn't escape me. My work as a program coordinator for a women's shelter was something I was proud of, but my family always made it sound like a hobby rather than a career. "It's going well, thanks," I replied simply. "How are things at the bank?" "Busy as always. Just closed a major deal last week." Stephanie stood and approached us, offering a brief hug. "Lily, Sophia, and James were just asking when you'd arrive. Why don't you go join them?" Lily looked at me uncertainly. I nodded encouragingly, and she made her way over to her cousins, still holding her folder. "Hi, Sophia." "Hi, James," she said. Sophia looked up, her expression a perfect miniature of Eleanor's assessing gaze. "Hi, we're playing speed. Do you know how to play?" "No, but I can learn," Lily said hopefully. James shrugged. "It's only for 2 players anyway." I watched as Lily stood awkwardly beside them, unsure what to do next. Sophia and James returned to their game without further acknowledgement of her presence. "Lily," I called softly, "why don't you show Grandma what you made for her?" Lily brightened and approached Eleanor, who was arranging flowers in a vase. "Grandma, I drew a picture of our family for you," she said, opening her folder and carefully extracting her artwork. Eleanor barely glanced at it. "Put it on the side table, dear. I'll look at it later. I need to check on the roast." Lily's face fell, but she did as she was told, placing her drawing carefully on the table before returning to hover near her cousins again. "Dinah, come help me in the kitchen," my mother commanded, already walking away. In the gleaming kitchen, Eleanor busied herself with dinner preparations. Everything was meticulously organized, ingredients, measured precisely, countertops, spotless. "You could have done something with her hair," she said, nodding toward the dining room where Lily was now visible, trying to engage with her cousins. "It looks unkempt." I bit back a retort. Lily's hair was perfectly fine, neatly brushed and held back with a headband that matched her dress. "Her hair is beautiful, Mom. Just like she is." Eleanor sniffed. "Beauty isn't enough in this world, Dinah. You should know that by now. That child needs structured discipline. You're too soft with her." "I'm raising her with love and respect," I said, working to keep my voice even. "That's what children need most. What children need is proper guidance. 2 parents for one thing. Have you given any thought to dating again? Lily needs a father figure." And there it was, the inevitable dig at my single-parent status. Before I could respond, Stephanie entered the kitchen. "Can I help with anything, Eleanor?" she asked. "Yes, dear, you can arrange the dinner rolls in the basket. Use the linen napkin with the blue embroidery," my mother replied, her tone noticeably warmer than when speaking to me. I took the opportunity to check on Lily. In the living room, I found her sitting alone in a corner flipping through a book while Sophia and James now played with electronic tablets. Uncle Robert had engaged Michael in conversation, and Aunt Patricia was scrolling through her phone. "You okay, sweetheart?" I asked, sitting beside Lily. She nodded, but I could see the sadness in her eyes. "The book has nice pictures," she offered, showing me the gardening tome she'd found on a shelf. "Dinner's ready," Eleanor called from the dining room. We gathered around the formal dining table with Eleanor at the head, of course. Lily and I were seated at the far end, as if our presence was an afterthought. The table was set with the fine china and crystal that had only ever been used for company when I was growing up. As the meal progressed, I noticed Eleanor showcasing Michael's children at every opportunity. Sophia just won first place in her piano recital, she announced proudly. And James is being moved to the advanced reading group at school. That's wonderful, I said sincerely. Congratulations, you two. Lily is doing great in school too, I added. Her teacher says she's one of the most creative students in the class. Eleanor made a non-committal noise. Creative is fine, but academics are what matter for getting ahead. Isn't that right, Michael? Michael nodded sagely. Grades open doors for me, that's for sure. Lily got an A on her math test last week, I said, feeling an absurd need to defend my daughter's intelligence. I like art class best, Lily volunteered shyly. We're learning about different painters. Art is a nice hobby, Eleanor said dismissively, but it's not a practical focus. I saw Lily shrink a little in her chair. As we ate, Eleanor continued to criticize subtly, commenting on how I cut Lily's meat for her. Sophia was using proper utensils by age 5. How much food was on Lily's plate? Wasting food is a terrible habit to instill. Even how Lily's napkin wasn't properly placed on her lap. Each comment grated on my nerves, but I kept my responses minimal, not wanting to create a scene. Lily tried so hard to do everything right. Her little face concentrated on her manners, on being the perfect granddaughter. The conversation turned to summer plans, with Michael and Stephanie detailing their upcoming European vacation. We're taking the children to Paris, Rome, and London, Stephanie said. It's so important for them to be culturally well-rounded. And what are your summer plans, Dinah? Aunt Patricia asked, speaking directly to me for the first time. Lily and I are going to Cape Cod for a week, I replied. We found a great little cottage rental near the beach. How quaint, Eleanor remarked. Though children really benefit from more educational experiences, don't they? Stephanie nodded in agreement. Our travel agent put together a wonderful itinerary with child-friendly museums and historical sites. I felt my face grow hot but kept my expression neutral. Our beach trip had required months of saving and careful budgeting, and Lily was ecstatic about it. I refused to let them diminish our plans. The beach is educational too, Lily piped up unexpectedly. My science teacher said we can learn about ecosystems and marine biology there. I smiled gratefully at her, and before anyone could respond, James turned to Lily. Are you coming to Dad's company picnic this year? There's going to be a bouncy castle and pony rides. Lily looked confused. I don't think so. It's just for families from Dad's company, Sophia explained in a superior tone. Speaking of fathers, Eleanor interjected, James's father just got another promotion, didn't he? Michael straightened proudly. Senior vice president now. Came with a substantial bonus, too. Sophia turned to Lily with the innocent cruelty that only children can manage. My dad is taking us to Disney World for Christmas. Where does your dad take you? The table went quiet. Lily looked down at her plate. I don't have a dad, she said softly. I reached for her hand under the table, ready to intervene, but Eleanor spoke first. That's because your mother made poor choices, she said sharply. A child needs 2 parents. It's unnatural otherwise. Mom, I exclaimed, shocked, despite years of similar comments. Well, it's true, Eleanor continued, warming to her theme. Look at Sophia and James. They're well-adjusted, accomplished children. They have a proper family structure. Lily's eyes had filled with tears. But Mom and I are a family, she whispered. Eleanor fixed her with a cold stare. A real family has a mother and father. You don't belong here with the rest of us fatherless. The room fell silent, the only sound the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. Lily's face crumpled, tears spilling down her cheeks. I sat frozen in shock for a moment, unable to believe my mother had actually said those words to my 7-year-old daughter. Eleanor! Uncle Robert broke the silence, his voice sharp with disapproval. Lily pushed back from the table, her small body shaking with sobs, and ran from the room. The sight of her retreating form snapped me out of my paralysis. How dare you! I hissed at my mother, throwing my napkin down. How dare you say that to a child? Eleanor had the audacity to look affronted. I'm simply stating facts, Dinah. The girl needs to understand how the world works. You're not doing her any favors by sheltering her from reality. Michael's wife, Stephanie, looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Michael cleared his throat. Mom was a bit harsh, but she has a point about traditional family structures, Dinah. I stood up, trembling with rage. No, she doesn't, and neither do you. Family is about love, not who fits some arbitrary mold of perfection. You're overreacting as usual, Eleanor said dismissively. This is why Lily is so sensitive. You indulge her emotions too much. Without another word, I left the table to find my daughter. I could hear murmured conversation resume behind me, but I didn't care what they were saying. All that mattered was Lily. I found Lily curled up on the bed in the guest room, her small body shaking with sobs. My heart shattered seeing her pain, knowing my own mother had caused it. I sat beside her and gently pulled her into my arms. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, I whispered, rocking her gently. Grandma was very wrong to say that. Lily looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. Why doesn't she like me, Mommy? What did I do wrong? Nothing, absolutely nothing, I said firmly. You did nothing wrong. Grandma has some very old-fashioned ideas about what makes a family, but those ideas are wrong. A family is made of people who love each other, who take care of each other. You and I are a perfect family just as we are. But she said I don't belong, Lily hiccuped between sobs. And Sophia and James have a dad and they go to Disney World in Europe. I stroked her hair, searching for words that could heal the wound my mother had inflicted. Belonging isn't about having the same things as other people or fitting someone else's idea of what's right. You belong exactly where you are loved, and you are so loved, Lily. By me, by Jasmine and Zoe, by your teachers and friends. Not by Grandma, she said quietly. The simple truth of her statement broke something inside me. For years I had made excuses for my mother's behavior, had subjected Lily to her subtle cruelty in the name of family connections. But this crossed a line I couldn't ignore or forgive. Listen to me, I said, wiping tears from Lily's cheeks. What Grandma said was cruel and wrong, and I'm not going to let anyone talk to you that way, not even her. We're going to pack our things and go home now. But dinner's not over, Lily said, her innate politeness emerging even through her hurt. Some things are more important than finishing dinner, I told her, like standing up for ourselves when someone is unkind, like showing people that we won't accept being treated badly. I helped Lily wash her face and then we quickly packed our few belongings. As we were getting ready to leave the guest room, Lily suddenly remembered something. My drawing for Grandma, she said. It's still on the table downstairs. Do you want to leave it here or take it home? She thought for a moment. Take it home. I can make her a new one when she learns to be nicer. The simple wisdom in her statement nearly brought me to tears again. That's a really good idea, I told her, amazed at her resilience. As we came down the stairs with our bags, Eleanor was waiting in the hallway, arms crossed. Where do you think you're going? She demanded. Dinner isn't finished and there's dessert. We're going home, I said, my voice steady, despite the emotions churning inside me. I won't allow Lily to be spoken to the way you spoke to her. You're overreacting as usual, Eleanor huffed. I simply told her the truth. Coddling her won't prepare her for the real world. The real world includes all kinds of families, Mom. Single-parent families, blended families, adopted families, 2-mom families, 2-dad families. What makes a family isn't who's in it, but how they treat each other. And right now, you're not treating us like family. I'm sorry you took it that way, Eleanor said, not sounding sorry at all. But you know I'm right. Children need a mother and a father. It's how things are meant to be. Michael appeared from the dining room. Come on, Dinah, don't make a scene. Mom didn't mean anything by it. I turned to face my brother. Yes, she did, Michael. She meant exactly what she said. And your silence when she said it makes you complicit. Now wait a minute, he started, but I cut him off. No, I'm done waiting. I've spent years hoping Mom would change, that she would see what an amazing grandchild she has in Lily. But she can't see past her own rigid ideas of what's proper and right. I won't expose my daughter to that anymore. Lily had moved to the side table and was retrieving her drawing. I noticed Eleanor eyeing her critically even now, and something inside me snapped. You know what a real family does, Mom? They celebrate each other's successes no matter how small. They lift each other up instead of tearing each other down. They make each other feel safe and valued. When was the last time you made me feel that way? When was the last time you made Lily feel that way? Eleanor's mouth tightened into a thin line. I raised you to be successful in this world, not to be coddled. If you'd listened to me more, maybe you wouldn't be struggling as a single mother. I'm not struggling, I said clearly. I have a job I love that makes a difference in people's lives. I have a daughter who amazes me every day with her kindness and creativity. I have friends who support me. The only struggle I have is dealing with your constant judgment and criticism. By now, the rest of the family had gathered in the hallway, watching our confrontation with varying expressions of discomfort and surprise. Lily, are you ready to go? I asked, turning away from my mother. Lily nodded, clutching her drawing and looking small but determined. Dinah, don't be ridiculous, Eleanor said, her voice taking on the authoritative tone that had intimidated me for years. You can't just leave in the middle of a family gathering. Watch me, I replied, taking Lily's hand. Call me when you're ready to apologize to Lily. A real apology, not, I'm sorry you feel that way. Until then, we won't be back. As we walked to the door, Uncle Robert stepped forward. I'm sorry it came to this, Dinah. For what it's worth, I think you're doing a wonderful job with Lily. I gave him a grateful smile. Thank you, Uncle Robert. That means a lot. We walked out the door and down the path to our car, Eleanor's protests fading behind us. As I helped Lily into her seat, I noticed her hands were trembling slightly. Are you okay, sweetheart? I asked, buckling her in. I'm sad, she said honestly. But I'm also a little proud of us for leaving. Is that weird? Not weird at all, I assured her. Sometimes the hardest but right thing to do is to walk away from people who hurt us, even when they're family. The drive home was mostly silent. Lily fell asleep about halfway there, emotionally exhausted from the day's events. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror, tear tracks still visible on her cheeks, and felt a renewed surge of protectiveness. My phone rang several times, Eleanor, then Michael, but I ignored the calls. Whatever they had to say could wait until I'd had time to process everything and make sure Lily was okay. As we neared our apartment building, I made a silent promise to both Lily and myself, no more subjecting ourselves to Eleanor's judgment. No more hoping for approval that would never come. From now on, we would surround ourselves with people who truly loved and accepted us exactly as we were. Tears slid down my cheeks as I drove a mixture of sadness for what I'd hoped our family could be, and determination about what our future would look like. Lily and I might be a small family, but we were a real one, bound by love rather than obligation. And that was something my mother, for all her insistence on propriety, had never understood. The next morning, Lily woke up with puffy eyes and a subdued demeanor. I had called in sick to work for the next 2 days, knowing we both needed time to process what had happened. How about pancakes for breakfast? I suggested, trying to bring some normality back to our routine. Lily nodded without her usual enthusiasm. As we ate, she suddenly asked, Is Grandma right? Are we not a real family? I set down my fork, giving her my full attention. No, sweetheart, Grandma is absolutely wrong. A real family is made by love and caring, not by who's in it. Think about your friend Zoe. She has 2 moms and no dad. Is her family not real? Lily considered this. Zoe's family seems really happy. Her moms came to the school play together and cheered really loud. Exactly. And what about Mr. Peterson at school? He's a single dad raising 3 kids after their mom died. Is his family not real? No, they're definitely a family, Lily said more confidently now. Mr. Peterson makes all the costumes for the school plays by himself. He learned how to sew just for that. See, families come in all different shapes and sizes. What matters is that they love each other and take care of each other. And you and I do that every day. Lily seemed to be processing this information. So Grandma was just wrong. Yes, she was wrong. Sometimes adults are wrong, even grandparents. After breakfast, my phone rang again. It was Eleanor for the fourth time since last night. This time I decided to answer. "Dinah, this has gone on long enough," she said without preamble. "You're being childish walking out like that." "I'm not discussing this with you unless you're calling to apologize to Lily," I replied calmly. "Apologize for what? Telling the truth. That child needs to understand how the world works." "No, Mom. She needs to understand that she is loved and valued exactly as she is. She needs to know that our little family of two is just as valid as any other. And if you can't give her that, then you don't need to be in her life." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "You don't mean that," Eleanor finally said, but her voice held a note of uncertainty. "I do mean it. I've spent my whole life trying to earn your approval, trying to be good enough. I won't let Lily go through that same pain. This is about Marcus leaving, isn't it? You're still bitter and you're using Lily to punish me for pointing out your mistakes." I took a deep breath, reminding myself that Eleanor's opinion no longer mattered. This isn't about Marcus. This is about you telling a 7-year-old child that she doesn't belong in her own family because her father left. This is about years of criticism and judgment that I've allowed to continue because I thought having a grandmother in her life was important. But not at this cost, Mom. Not at the cost of her self-esteem and sense of belonging. "Well, if that's how you feel," Eleanor said stiffly, "I suppose there's nothing more to say." "I guess there isn't. Goodbye, Mom." After hanging up, I found Jasmine's number and called her. When I explained what had happened, she immediately offered to come over with ice cream and support. "I'm so proud of you for standing up to her," Jasmine said when she arrived, giving me a fierce hug. "I should have done it years ago," I admitted. "I kept hoping she would change, that she would see how amazing Lily is. But she can only see what's missing in her narrow view of family, not all the love that's present." While Lily and Jasmine's daughter Caitlin played in Lily's room, Jasmine and I talked through the events at Eleanor's house and my feelings about setting this long overdue boundary. "You know what's ironic?" I said. "My mother always criticized me for being too emotional, too sensitive. But setting this boundary, walking away from her toxicity, that's the strongest thing I've ever done. Protecting your child often brings out courage we didn't know we had," Jasmine agreed. The next few weeks were challenging. Lily had nightmares about not belonging, about being left alone. She became anxious at school, worried about being different from other kids. I took time off work whenever I could to be with her, to reinforce that she was loved and that our family was real and important. We met with a child therapist, Dr. Martinez, who specialized in family issues. She helped Lily process her feelings and gave me strategies to support her. "Children Lily's age are very concerned with belonging and fitting in," Dr. Martinez explained during one of our parent sessions. "What your mother said struck at a core developmental need. But children are also remarkably resilient. With consistent reassurance and positive experiences, Lily can overcome this." Following Dr. Martinez's advice, I began creating new family traditions just for Lily and me. Friday night became official movie and popcorn night. Sunday mornings were for pancake art competitions. We started a memory jar where we wrote down happy moments and special times together. I also joined a more intensive single-parent support group where I met others navigating similar challenges. It was comforting to share experiences with people who understood the unique pressures of solo parenting. Meanwhile, Eleanor continued to call, but her messages changed over time. The initial angry demands that I stop being dramatic gradually shifted to more subdued requests to see Lily. I saved the messages but didn't respond. Michael called a few times too, his approach alternating between guilt trips and half-hearted attempts at peacemaking. "Mom's really upset, Dinah," he said in one voicemail. "I know what she said was out of line, but you know how she is. Can't you just accept her apology and move on?" "But she hasn't actually apologized," I pointed out when I finally called him back. And that's just how she isn't a pass for hurting a child. She's getting older, Dinah. Do you really want Lily to grow up without knowing her grandmother? I want Lily to grow up with her self-worth intact, I replied. If Mom can respect that, maybe we can revisit a relationship. But I'm not subjecting my daughter to more emotional abuse just so Mom can play grandmother when it suits her. Michael sighed. You always were the stubborn one. No, I was the one who took all the criticism without complaint for years. Now I'm the one setting healthy boundaries. There's a difference. As weeks turned into months, our little family of 2 began to heal. Lily's nightmares became less frequent. She started talking more about school and friends, less about what happened at Grandma's house. The support network we built around ourselves, Jasmine and Caitlin, other single-parent families we met through the support group neighbors who became friends, created a sense of extended family that was far more nurturing than what my blood relatives had offered. I received several letters from Eleanor, which I set aside unopened. I wasn't ready to engage with her yet, not until I was certain I could maintain my boundaries without getting pulled back into old patterns. One day, about 3 months after the disastrous family dinner, I was helping Lily with a school project when there was a knock at our apartment door. I'll get it, I said, assuming it was the package I'd ordered for Lily's upcoming birthday. Instead, I opened the door to find Eleanor standing there looking smaller and older than I remembered. She wore a simple sweater and slacks rather than her usual formal attire, and she carried a small gift bag. Mom, I said, surprised, what are you doing here? I need to speak with you, she said, her voice lacking its usual authoritative tone. May I come in? I hesitated, glancing back toward the kitchen where Lily was working on her project. I don't think that's a good idea right now. Please, Dinah, I've come all this way. I stepped into the hallway, partially closing the door behind me. You can say what you need to say here. I'm not exposing Lily to more hurt. Eleanor seemed to deflate slightly. I deserve that. I've been doing a lot of thinking these past months, and talking with someone, a therapist. That genuinely surprised me. Eleanor had always dismissed therapy as excuse-making for people too weak to solve their own problems. Michael's wife suggested it, she continued, seeing my surprise. She said if I wanted any relationship with you or Lily, I needed to understand why I behaved as I did. And do you understand, I mean? Eleanor looked down at her hands, which I noticed were trembling slightly. I'm beginning to. My own mother was very critical. Nothing was ever good enough. When your father died, I was terrified of raising you wrong without him. I thought being strict, maintaining standards was the way to ensure you'd succeed. But I see now I just repeated the cycle. I leaned against the doorframe, studying my mother's face. There was a vulnerability there I'd never seen before. One conversation with a therapist doesn't undo years of criticism and judgment, Mom. I know. I've had 12 sessions so far. Weekly since that day. She looked up at me directly. I was wrong, Dinah. What I said to Lily was cruel and false. I've been wrong about so many things. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I wanted to tell you in person that I'm truly sorry, and I'm trying to change. Before I could respond, the apartment door opened wider and Lily peered out. Mom, who are you talking to? She spotted Eleanor and froze, her eyes widening. Hello, Lily, Eleanor said softly. I've missed you. Lily looked up at me questioningly. I put my arm around her shoulders protectively. Your grandmother came to talk to us, I explained. She has something she'd like to say to you, but only if you want to hear it. You don't have to. Lily seemed to consider this seriously. Is she still mad at us? No, sweetheart, Eleanor answered before I could. I'm not mad. I'm sad about what I said to you. It was very wrong, and I'm here to tell you I'm sorry. Lily looked at me again, seeking guidance. I nodded slightly, letting her know it was her choice. You can come in, Lily said finally. We're making a solar system for school. I'm doing Jupiter now. We moved into the apartment, the atmosphere tense and awkward. Eleanor stood uncertainly in the living room, taking in the cozy space with its mismatched furniture and walls covered in Lily's artwork. You have a lovely home, she said, and it sounded genuine. Thank you, I replied, still wary. Would you like some tea? While I prepared tea in the kitchen, I kept a close eye on Eleanor and Lily. To my surprise, Eleanor asked Lily to show her the solar system project, listening attentively as Lily explained about Jupiter's great red spot and its many moons. You're very knowledgeable, Eleanor said when Lily finished her explanation. Your teachers must be impressed with your work. Lily beamed at the praise. I got an A on my last science test. Mom put it on the refrigerator. I'd like to see it if that's okay. I brought tea to the living room, setting Eleanor's cup on the coffee table. Lily, why don't you show Grandma your recent schoolwork while I finish cleaning up in the kitchen? This gave me a chance to observe their interaction from a slight distance. Eleanor seemed genuinely interested in Lily's achievements, asking questions, and offering praise without the backhanded criticism I'd come to expect. When Lily showed her a recent art project, Eleanor actually took time to examine it, commenting on the colors and creativity. After Lily had exhausted her show and tell, she returned to her Jupiter model at the kitchen table. I joined Eleanor in the living room, sitting across from her. I see you've redecorated, Eleanor said, gesturing to the photos on the walls, pictures of Lily and me at various outings and celebrations. Yes, after Dad died, you kept the house exactly the same. I needed my home to reflect who we are now, not be a shrine to the past. Eleanor nodded slowly. I think I understand that now. After Albert died, I was lost. Keeping everything the same was my way of holding on to him, but I ended up trapped in grief and I took it out on you. Why are you really here, Mom? I asked directly. Eleanor set down her teacup. To apologize genuinely for what I said to Lily, and to you for years of criticism and judgment, and to ask if there's any chance we could try again with clear boundaries this time. I studied her face, looking for signs of the manipulation I'd grown accustomed to, but saw only uncertainty and hope. If, and this is a big if, we were to consider allowing you back into our lives, there would need to be rules, I said firmly. No criticism of my parenting. No comments about Lily's lack of a father. No comparisons to Michael's children. Respect for our family exactly as it is. I understand, Eleanor said. I'm willing to try. My therapist has been helping me recognize when I start to make judgmental comments. I'm learning to pause and rethink. And I would want you to continue with therapy. I plan to. It's helping. I glanced over at Lily, who was happily working on her project, seemingly unconcerned with our conversation. You hurt her deeply, Mom. Words like that don't just go away with one apology. I know. And I'll spend however long it takes trying to make that right if you'll let me. I think we should start very small, I said after consideration. Short, supervised visits. If those go well, we can gradually increase the time. Relief washed over Eleanor's face. Thank you, Dinah. That's more than I had hoped for. And I want you to apologize to Lily directly, not just through me. She needs to hear that your words were wrong, not just that you're sorry for saying them. Eleanor nodded, looking nervous but determined. May I do that now? I called Lily over and she approached cautiously, standing close to me. Eleanor knelt down to Lily's level, something I'd never seen her do before. Lily, I need to tell you something very important. What I said at my house about you not belonging because you don't have a father, that was completely wrong. Families come in all different types, and yours is just as real and important as any other. You absolutely do belong, and I was very wrong to say otherwise. Lily listened solemnly. Why did you say it then? Eleanor seemed taken aback by the direct question, but answered honestly. Because I had some old-fashioned ideas about what makes a family, and because I was hurting inside, and sometimes when people hurt, they say hurtful things to others. That doesn't make it right, and I'm truly sorry. Lily considered this. Mom says when you apologize, you have to try not to do the same thing again. Your mom is very wise, Eleanor said with a glance at me. And she's right. I'm working with a special kind of teacher to learn how to be kinder and not say hurtful things. It's like learning a new skill, and I'm practicing every day. Like when I learned to ride my bike without training wheels. Very similar, Eleanor agreed. I might wobble sometimes, but I'm trying hard to get better. Lily nodded, seemingly satisfied with this explanation. Okay, I forgive you, but I'm still a little bit mad. That's fair, Eleanor said. Being forgiven is a gift I need to earn. In that moment, seeing my mother humble herself before my daughter, I felt a cautious hope that perhaps real change was possible. Not overnight, and not without setbacks, but possible nonetheless. Over the next 6 months, we established a careful routine of short visits. Eleanor would come to our apartment for an hour on Sunday afternoons, gradually extending to longer visits and occasionally joining us for outings to the park or museum. I remained vigilant, ready to end any visit if old patterns emerged, but to my surprise, Eleanor seemed genuinely committed to change. We also began occasional family therapy sessions with Dr. Martinez, sometimes just Eleanor and me, sometimes including Lily. These sessions helped us navigate the complex emotions and establish healthier communication patterns. I'm proud of both of you, Dr. Martinez told us during one session. Rebuilding trust after it's been broken is incredibly difficult work, and you're both showing real commitment to the process. There were stumbles, of course. Old habits emerged when Eleanor was tired or stressed. Sometimes a critical comment would slip out, but now she would catch herself, apologize sincerely, and try again. I learned to set clearer boundaries in the moment, rather than silently seething, and Eleanor learned to accept those boundaries without defensiveness. The most remarkable change was in her relationship with Lily. Instead of measuring her against some impossible standard, Eleanor began to appreciate Lily's unique qualities. She listened to Lily's stories with genuine interest, celebrated her achievements without comparison to others, and even started asking about her art projects with real curiosity. A year after the devastating family dinner, we celebrated Lily's 8th birthday with a small party at our apartment. Eleanor was among the guests, bringing a thoughtfully chosen gift, an art set Lily had mentioned wanting, rather than the educational toys she would have selected in the past. Watching my mother sing Happy Birthday alongside Jasmine and our other friends, I reflected on how far we'd come. The relationship wasn't perfect, and likely never would be, but it had evolved into something healthier for all of us. Later that evening, after the guests had left, and Lily was getting ready for bed, she asked me a question that showed how much healing had occurred. Mom is family, something you're born into, or something you make? I sat on the edge of her bed thinking about how to answer. I think it's both, sweetheart. We're born into certain family relationships like you and me or me and Grandma. But we also create family through the connections we build and the people we choose to love. Why do you ask? Because I think our family got bigger today, she said thoughtfully. Not just with Grandma trying to be better, but with Jasmine and Caitlin and everyone who came to my party. They feel like family, too. They are family, I assured her. Family is about love and belonging, about who makes you feel safe and supported. And you belong in all of those hearts, including mine most of all. Lily smiled sleepily. I'm glad we taught Grandma about real families. She seems happier now. I think she is, I agreed, kissing her forehead. And so are we. As I turned out Lily's light and closed her door, I felt a sense of peace I'd been searching for my entire life. By standing up for my daughter, I had finally stood up for myself as well. By defining what family meant to us, we had created something stronger and more authentic than what I'd grown up with. The journey hadn't been easy, and there would undoubtedly be challenges ahead. But we were facing them together on our own terms, surrounded by love in all its many forms. It's been exactly 1 year since that fateful family dinner when my mother's cruel words changed everything. Looking back now, I can see that moment as both an ending and a beginning. The end of accepting treatment that diminished us, and the beginning of building the life and relationships we truly deserved. Lily has blossomed in ways I couldn't have imagined. Her confidence has returned stronger than before, and she approaches the world with a wisdom beyond her years. Just last week, when a classmate made a comment about her not having a dad, Lily responded with remarkable poise. My family is perfect just how it is, she told me, she said. And families aren't all supposed to look the same anyway. Eleanor continues her therapy, and our carefully managed relationship has found a new balance. She still has moments where her critical nature surfaces, but now there's a pause, a recognition, and usually a course correction. Our Sunday afternoon visits have become a regular part of our routine, and while they're not always perfect, they're consistently respectful. What's been most surprising is how setting boundaries with my mother has rippled out to affect other areas of my life. I've become more confident at work, speaking up in meetings and proposing new initiatives for the women's shelter. I've even started dating again cautiously, a kind teacher I met at Lily's school. He understands that Lily and I are a package deal and respects the strong bond we've built. The support system we've created around ourselves has been our greatest strength. Jasmine and her daughter remain our closest friends, but our circle has expanded to include other single parents, neighbors, and colleagues who share our values of acceptance and unconditional love. Michael and I have an occasional, somewhat distant relationship now. He was uncomfortable with how I challenged the family dynamics, but has grudgingly come to respect my boundaries. His children have gradually become more welcoming to Lily at the occasional family gatherings we now attend on our own terms. The most profound change, though, has been inside me. For years, I carried my mother's critical voice in my head, questioning my decisions and undermining my confidence. Learning to silence that voice to replace it with my own wisdom and compassion has been liberating. I no longer seek approval from others to validate my worth or my choices. I'm breaking the cycle of generational trauma that led my mother to parent as she did. When I feel myself slipping into patterns of control or criticism with Lily, I catch myself, breathe, and choose a different path. I'm not a perfect parent, no one is, but I'm a conscious one, aware that my words and actions are shaping my daughter's sense of self and her future relationships. The healing journey hasn't always been linear. There are still days when old insecurities surface, when I question whether I'm enough for Lily, whether our family of two is truly complete. But then I look at her thriving, growing into a person of compassion and strength, and I know with certainty that we are exactly as we should be. Family isn't defined by its composition, but by the love within it. It's not about fitting some external mold of perfection, but about creating a space where everyone feels valued and belongs. Sometimes protecting your family means walking away from toxic relationships, even when those relationships are with people who are supposed to love you unconditionally. The hardest lesson I've learned is that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or allowing harmful patterns to continue. It means releasing the anger that binds you to pain while still maintaining healthy boundaries. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not a free pass for those who hurt you. As I watch Lily sleeping peacefully, secure in the knowledge that she is loved exactly as she is, I feel profound gratitude for the journey we've traveled together. By standing up for her that day at my mother's table, I finally stood up for the child in me who had needed protection too. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members to protect yourself or your children? What helped you find the strength to stand your ground? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more stories of family resilience and finding belonging in unexpected places. Remember, the family you create with love is just as real and valuable as any other. Thank you for being part of our extended family here, and I wish you the courage to create the connections that truly nurture your spirit.